On September 19th of this year, Rutgers University student Tyler Clementi jumped off the George Washington Bridge after two of his fellow Rutgers students streamed live video of him having a sexual encounter with another man. Clementi's death brought the nationwide LGBT youth suicide epidemic to public eye. Tyler was one of the 6 gay teens whose suicide was widely publicized in September 2010. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender teenagers are 4 times as likely to commit suicide as straight ones. And, according to recent studies, approximately 20% of LGBT students have made attempts on their own lives, as opposed to 4% of their straight counterparts. LGBT-related deaths were brought to public attention about 12 years ago, when 2 men beat Matthew Shepard and left him to die in Laramie, Wyoming on October 7, 1998. He was found 18 hours after the beating and died in the hospital on October 12th. His parents founded the Matthew Shepard Foundation to honor his legacy and promote diversity in educational programs and youth organizations. Anti-LGBT sentiment is alarmingly prevalent within the community at large. American Family Association Director Brian Fisher states, "If we want to see fewer students commit suicide, we want fewer homosexual students. They should be helped to resist these self-destructive impulses and redirect their sexual energies in healthy and life-giving directions." However, the discrimination that affects LGBT teens the most takes place at their schools. According to GLSEN, 84.6% of LGBT students are harassed in school, with 61.1% admitting to feeling unsafe on their own campus. At Torrey Pines, many of our LGBT students are privileged to feel accepted or at least unjudged by their peers.
The question of whether or not Torrey Pines is LGBT friendly is simple. Ask yourself, how many out people are there in my senior class? There are 2 or 3 that I can think of. I think that answers about everything. As to whether or not I feel accepted, I think a distinction must be made. Feeling accepted and feeling approved of are 2 quite different things. Although I feel like people accept me for who I am, that doesn't necessarily mean that they approve of it, and that makes all the difference.
Even here, closeted students experience a sense of crippling fear of coming out, and out students encounter hatred and alienation from their families and friends.
Why do I stay closeted at school? Well, it's not really that I'm afraid I'll be judged by my friends, but rather people I don't know. I'm afraid they'll hurt me. It's just a really daunting thought that people would judge me without even knowing me.
For me, being in the closet wasn't having everyone know I was bisexual. It was the fact of me being safe in my own home. What would it be like walking around campus, people knowing I was bi? They might tell my parents, they might tell my sister, my life would be over. I would be exiled from my church. I just wouldn't fit in anymore.
Choosing to be an out lesbian at Torrey Pines is pretty nerve-wracking when I first came here, because out of the 3 high schools I've been to so far, it seemed like Torrey Pines was the most homophobic, because I was constantly hearing "that's so gay" and "faggot" and other slurs like that. But once I actually came out, I realized that people weren't necessarily homophobic, they just weren't really thinking about what they were saying. And so I've learned not to really take it to heart and realize that there are a lot of people who are supportive and at least accepting, and they're just not always mindful of what they're saying.
GLSEN says that the best solution to anti-LGBT bullying on campus is having supportive educators who are willing to make their classrooms a safe space for LGBT teens. The Torrey Pines Gay-Straight Alliance was a part of GLSEN's Safe Space campaign, and this year, posters have been put on the doors of teachers on campus who wish to show their support for their LGBT students. These posters proclaim, "This is a safe and inclusive space for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender students and their allies," and bear some statistics about the prevalence of anti-LGBT bullying on high school campuses.
Hi, I've been teaching here at Torrey Pines for almost 20 years, and I've noticed that there are less incidents of intolerance now than there used to be. It used to be that intolerance was almost accepted, was almost the norm. And now it seems as though the idea of intolerance is not accepted, that when someone does make an intolerant statement, that they're basically called out by the other members of the class.
In anything that happens at Torrey Pines, there's the mentality that if it's controversial, it shouldn't be talked about. And while that serves the interests of the adult leaders on campus, it also serves to diminish good discussion about issues related to LGBT students. And I feel that the purpose of the GSA, along with consoling students, is to get that conversation started among all people on campus, because the proper conversation about what LGBT students need as they go through high school will facilitate a better campus.
Every year, Torrey Pines High School students participate in GLSEN's National Day of Silence, when students take a vow of silence in response to the silencing effects of anti-LGBT bullying.
Torrey Pines students need to see that not only is it okay to be an LGBT student, but it's okay to feel and express the fact that there's nothing wrong with someone just because they happen to love a different kind of person. We must demand change. The only way to make a change at a place like Torrey Pines, where many students are suffocated by the pressures to conform, is for allies to show their peers that treating LGBT students equally is actually the cool thing to do. And it must begin with allies with the courage to stand up for everyone here who has no voice. And fear is the only thing stopping us. I truly believe that the majority of students are either supportive or simply indifferent, and that's really all we need. If we can stop those who are indifferent from conforming when their peers aren't supportive, we will take huge steps towards creating a better life for Torrey Pines LGBT students.
I grew up in the church, and so you're kind of taught that the gay thing is like not normal. What I did was I was looking at people around me and other people who called themselves Christians and stuff, and seeing what they were doing, and it really disgusted me because there's people who are screaming obscenities across the quad, or like, that person is such a, you know, and I was thinking this is not right. It dawned on us, we're like, making a big mistake here. We should be loving on people, not sheltering this hate. It's not exactly that we support or tolerate. We're living with you, and we will live with you. There's so many misconceptions between Christians and LGBTs. We're gonna love on GSA. God was showing stuff to us while we were at the meeting. It really opened our eyes. It used to be more of like a we should love because Christ is loving, but now it's becoming more of a we're loving because these people are lovable. Although we may not support you, we are still there.
A person's sexual preferences does not define who he or she is.
The GSA is taking steps to create a better Torrey Pines. There are also a great number of organizations off campus to help LGBT teens cope with life.
The youth center is there as a safe space. It's there as a third space. It's not home, it's not school, and you can come in, you can hang out, you can participate in groups, you can play games, you can talk to me.
Founded by writer James Lesesne, author of Absolute Brightness and the Academy Award-winning film Trevor, the Trevor Project is committed to promoting acceptance of LGBT youth and providing crisis counseling and suicide prevention for teens in need. In response to the rise in LGBT suicides, writer Dan Savage made a video and uploaded it to YouTube to tell LGBT youth that life gets easier after high school. Since then, the It Gets Better Project has become a worldwide movement of supportive adults and personalities sending a message to LGBT kids and teens that the hatred and social alienation they experience in high school is only temporary.